In a galaxy of countless stars and planets, it was rare to find places that were truly unique. There were a handful of planets where the inhabitants lived in impressive, towering structures that sometimes reached kilometers into the sky. There was one planet, however, where these were not made of cold durasteel and glass. Here on this vibrant world, the natives lived high above the ground among the living branches of the largest trees in the galaxy. Welcome to Kashyyyk. A remarkable planet located in the mid-rim region of the galaxy. Most visitors will remember Kashyyyk for the rest of their lives. A planet filled with life in every imaginable form, connected in a unique ecosystem that covers all extremes and has brought forth one of the galaxy's most iconic sentient species. The majority of Kashyyyk landmass was covered with the magnificent Worshyr tree forests, which in some places stood several kilometers high. However, Kashyyyk natural beauty wasn't confined solely to its expansive forests. It offered a diversity of terrains, including desert regions nestled within the rain shadow of mountain ranges and vast plains like the Worshyr region. Tropical oceans often hosted stunning archipelagos and extensive coral reefs. White sandy beaches stretched along the shores, adding a touch of serenity to the awe-inspiring beauty of the planet. Kashyyy's highest peak, known as Wookiees Mountain, stood as a testament to the planet's majestic topography, drawing both inhabitants and visitors to gaze upon its grandeur. Due to its perfectly circular orbit around its host star, the planet experienced no seasons, a fact that made the development of its diverse ecosystem a mystery. Normally, a stable rhythm of weather changes is the basis for a great diversity of life forms, which has led some scientists to question whether the evolution of life on Kashyyyk has taken place entirely naturally, including the development of the extraordinary Worshyr trees. With over 1,000 different species, these massive trees dominated Kashyyy's landscape, reaching staggering heights and potentially living for up to 50,000 years. While Worshyr trees near the coastlines were relatively small, with a height of a few hundred meters, trees in the inland frequently grew well over 1 kilometer into the sky. The history of these remarkable trees is linked to ancient terraforming experiments by the Rakatan Infinite Empire, many thousands of years before the days of the Old Republic. After the fall of the Rakatan Empire, there was no one left to deactivate their terraforming technology, leading to the continued growth of the Worshyr trees and resulting in their abnormally large size. The tree's immense branches had the ability to merge and form connections between individual trees. This made it possible for life forms living in the treetops to wander around endlessly from one tree to the next, without the need to ever climb down to the forest ground. It is no surprise that the Worshyr trees played a central role in the civilization of the Wookiees, the near-humanoid sentient natives. The strong trees supported entire cities, often positioned kilometers above the forest ground. They were not only a source of shelter from the planet's various dangers, but also offered numerous resources, providing the Wookiees with water, food, and building materials. The Wookiees also learned to use the tree's wood, bark, and leaves to build everything they needed to survive and more. Oils and various chemicals were extracted from the resin of the trees that was also used in the production of cosmetics and highly effective medicines. Specially trained Wookiees took on the role of tree caretakers and were responsible for collecting and storing seeds to plant new trees. The tree caretakers had a high status in Wookiee society, and most cities had shrines dedicated to their cause. Most of them lived in the highest branches of the Worshyrs and regularly traveled down into the depths of the forest to plant new seeds and make sure the young trees grew up healthy. The Wookiees probably became the dominant species on Kashyyyk due to their superior tree climbing abilities. Their strong bodies, protective fur, and retractable claws allowed them to live in the canopies of the majestic Worshyr trees far above the ground and away from most predators. Wookiee society was built around their tree houses in the tops of the towering Worshyr trees, where they lived together in strong family ties. Most of the treehouse villages and even some of the larger cities belonged to individual clans, including the beach city of Kashyyyk and the hanging capital Wookiees. The larger cities, however, were often open for all Wookiees, as well as visitors from other worlds. A shared code of honor and loyalty formed the most important rules of all Wookiee communities. Each Wookiee clan was ruled by a strong chieftain. In most decisions, the chieftain was advised by a council of wise elders who were often more than 400 years old. On a planetary level, all of Kashyyyk was ruled by a few Wookiee royal families. These families ruled over large territories and occasionally met in council in the royal city, near the western forest, to discuss important matters. Living in the branches and getting everything they needed from the trees, the Wookiees had a great appreciation of nature. Their woodworking skills were legendary throughout the galaxy. But what was easily dismissed as a primitive lifestyle by ignorant outsiders was the result of the Wookiees' talent for combining technology with natural materials provided by the great trees. Wookiees were fast in understanding the tools, machines, and starships that outsiders brought to Kashyyyk in the early days of its history. They were quickly able to adapt and manufacture them themselves, while maintaining the traditional look of Wookiee technology. Delving deeper into the planet's ecology, Kashyyyk showcased a complex and intricate web of life. It has often been referred to as a multi-layered death trap, an apt description considering that the dangers from the local wildlife increased the further one ventured into the depths. According to Wookiee culture, this vertical environment could be segmented into multiple levels, with the majority of Wookiee civilization concentrated on the uppermost 7th level. Above the treetops lived a large variety of flying creatures, among them many species of smaller seed-eating birds, but larger animals also roamed through the air. The cancels, up to 3 meters long, were flying insectoids. Wookiees thought their appearance was a good omen and liked to keep them as pets. Because of these positive images, they were used as a source of inspiration for some vehicle designs. The treetops were teeming with life. Many different kinds of animals climbed, crawled, or jumped from one branch to another. Assyriacs, 1 meter long furry predators, fed mainly on birds and small leaf lizards. The acrobatic Wookiees also hunted in the upper branches. They were, however, infamous for underestimating the combined weight of their own bodies and the prey they carried until the slender branches on which they moved broke. Their prey still in their mouths, they often plunged to their deaths. Even the bravest among the Wookiees usually avoided venturing below the 4th level, as less and less sunlight reached through the network of leaves and branches, and wildlife became increasingly more dangerous. The Wookiees, small, furry scavengers, were among the more harmless creatures that lived here. They climbed through the branches below the upper levels. always looking for the remains of animals that had been careless when climbing the treetops and had fallen hundreds of meters into the depth. More dangerous were the numerous large snakes and spiders that often prowled around in the twilight of the lower branches to prey on unsuspecting creatures. The ground level, ominously known as the Shadowlands, was a realm of mystery and peril. The air was stuffy and humid, and filled with an orchestra of sounds of all kinds of exotic creatures. In the eternal darkness lurked the largest and most dangerous predators, waiting to hunt down anyone careless enough to enter their domain. The call of the aggressive mind-stingars could be heard from afar. These semi-sentient bipedal animals roamed the ground and lowest branches of the forests, hunting in packs and protecting their territories. A dangerous subspecies of the Katarns, predators that held spiritual significance to the Wookiees, were known to stalk their prey across the forest floor before attacking from the shadows. Following an ancient tradition, brave young Wookiees climbed down the trees and hunted Katarns as part of the heartache ceremony. They took the spiritual hunt upon themselves to awaken their inner fire. They climbed back up as stronger, more capable members of Wookiee society and with many stories to tell. Kashyyyk was officially discovered some 4,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, around 20,000 years after it had been abandoned by the Rakatan following the downfall of their infinite empire. The planet was discovered by the Zerka Corporation during an expansion campaign and was originally named Edean. Having decided that resource extraction was not worthwhile, Zerka's attention soon turned to the planet's natives. Despite them knowing better, Zerka pushed for the classification of Kashyyyk as a planet with no sentient life. This denied the native Wookiees all the rights that sentient species were entitled to under Old Republic law. With the help of a handful of corrupt Wookiee chieftains, the physically strong and cunning Wookiees were soon exported to other planets in large numbers as slaves. The occupation by the Zerka Corporation ended a few decades later with a violent revolt of the Wookiees and the death of hundreds of Zerka employees. The planet was quickly evacuated, and the Wookiees learned to meet every stranger with hostility, entering another period of Kashyyyk's isolation. Many years later, a group of scouts from the neighboring planet Trandosha landed on Kashyyyk, but were quickly driven away by the Wookiees. However, the hasty escape forced them to leave one of their ships behind on the planet, which aroused the curiosity of the Wookiees. The skilled tinkerers carefully disassembled the ship. With what they had learned, the clever Wookiees soon built the first spaceship of their own, which was capable of hyperspace travel and allowed them to explore a whole galaxy of possibilities. The first relationships with other worlds were very one-sided. Trade agreements oftentimes exploited the Wookiees' lack of experience in intergalactic trading and knowledge about the galaxy. This only changed sometime after Kashyyyk officially joined the Republic and gained all the rights of a full member, including representation in the Senate. From that point on, fair trade relations were established between the Wookiees and other members of the Republic. Kashyyyk's importance to galactic trade increased rapidly when a corridor between two of the most important hyperspace lanes in this part of the galaxy was established, running directly alongside the planet. Relations with its Trandoshan neighbors were tense for most of Kashyyyk's history. More than once, open conflicts erupted, which could usually only be ended by diplomatic intervention by the Republic Senate. Over the decades, the reptilian Trandoshans developed a tradition of raiding Kashyyyk to hunt Wookiees for their pelts. These were highly valued as trophies by the Trandoshans, leading to constant tensions between the two neighboring planets. In the years leading up to the Clone Wars, the Trandoshans tried to decrease Kashyyyk's representation in the Senate with the support of the Trade Federation. A few years into the Clone Wars, the Trandoshans, who sided with the Separatists in the fight against the Republic, led multiple simultaneous raids on Kashyyyk. They tried to neutralize key targets on the planet and gain control of the beach city of Kashyyyk in preparation of a Separatist invasion. Republic forces came to assist and, together with the Wookiees, clashed with the Separatist droid army in the First Battle of Kashyyyk. Shortly after the end of the battle, and with the sudden rise of the First Galactic Empire, the clone troopers who just won the First Battle of Kashyyyk, fighting side by side with the Wookiees, took complete control over the planet. Quickly, the Trandoshans started promoting the idea of using the strong and skillful Wookiees as slaves to Imperial leadership. The Empire and the Trandoshans established large slave camps on Kashyyyk, and Wookiee slaves were soon to be seen all over the galaxy on Imperial construction projects. Over the next few years, the ruthless occupation of Kashyyyk was often used to show other unruly star systems what would happen to them if they would not surrender to the rule of the Empire. Shortly after the destruction of the second Death Star at the Battle of Endor, the Rebel Alliance freed the planet. They easily overwhelmed the Imperial troops, who were still uncoordinated after the command structure of the Empire had collapsed. But in trying to capitalize on the disorganization of the Empire as much as possible, Rebel forces were stretched thin, and only a short time later, Imperial troops took control of Kashyyyk again. This time, however, the Imperial occupation wouldn't last long. Rebel infiltrators incited a revolt among the Wookiees. Fighting under one banner, they were able to destroy multiple important bases of the Empire on their own. This paved the way for the newly founded Republic to join the attack. In an operation that would later be known as the Liberation of Kashyyyk, the Wookiees, together with the new Republic forces, finally drove the Empire off the planet. Kashyyyk would become an important member of the new Republic, and later its successor, the Galactic Alliance. More than 30 years later, the war against the Yuuzhan Vong, as well as many other conflicts, fear and intrigue had deteriorated the Galactic Alliance more and more into an authoritarian state until it was too much. A large group of member planets left the Alliance and civil war broke out. The Fifth Fleet of the Alliance attacked Kashyyyk, where the Wookiees hid and protected a group of enemies of the Alliance government. In an act of horror, the Star Destroyers of the Galactic Alliance opened fire at the magnificent Worshyr tree forests from orbit, with the goal to burn them down until the Wookiees, who highly valued the forests, would give way. Many of the thousands of years old forests, large parts of the unique landscape of Kashyyyk and the capital Wookiees had already been destroyed when a support fleet arrived and finally drove off the attackers. For days, devastating forest fires raged across the entire planet. Despite all of this, the Wookiees decided to not join forces against the Alliance, but to remain somewhat neutral in an attempt to save Kashyyyk from even more violence and destruction. The following 100 years were a time of relative peace as the Wookiees rebuilt the destroyed cities. Restoring the forests that had been lost to the bombardment and the subsequent fires would take centuries more. This peaceful time ended when the leadership of the Galactic Empire under Darth Krayt began to see the Wookiees as a threat. Instead of occupying Kashyyyk, however, Imperial forces destroyed all spaceports and shipyards on the planet. The following blockade ensured the isolation of the Wookiees and removed their influence from the rest of the galaxy. Forcefully cut off from other worlds, the Wookiees, from that point on, were largely left alone. With this involuntary peace, they returned to a more traditional lifestyle in the treetops of the vast Worshyr forests of Kashyyyk.